Joe, Gage, Max, and Joe. Gage, Max, Joe, Gage, Max, and Joe. YouTube live show with Gage, Max, and Joe. Well, they're fired up and ready to go. Gage, Max, and Joe. Gage, Max, Joe, Gage, Max, and Joe. Gage, Max, Joe, Gage, Max, and Joe. YouTube live show with Gage, Max, and Joe. Well, they're fired up and ready to go. Gage, Max, and Joe.
Woo, let's go.
Welcoming you guys back from our studio. Wonderful Tuesday, joined by Clark Kent here. Max Rosenfeld, how we doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Hey, Joe, how's that internship working at the Daily Planet? Looking good.
I love my job, so
Max,
it's my second disguise.
Max, tell us about your little Spotify little action this morning. Huh?
Oh my God. I don't even want to get into this. So okay, fine, I will. This guy, so this is the second time this has happened that my Spotify account, I look and someone's listening to some title. I don't even know how to say the characters in the name of the song in Arabic. So someone must be listening to my music somewhere out there in the world, or my personal stuff, you know. So if you're watching this, 35-year-old man from Morocco, knock it off. I'm a little upset.
Play the music. I want to hear this music.
I got my phone recording. I can't.
Oh, never mind.
We'll play a little sample later, but
This
it's something.
This is the second time this happened?
It is the second time this happened. Yeah.
Dude, my roommate had Eric. He had my password, and all of a sudden it was on like Post Malone. All of a sudden I'd be just listening to
Katy
songs.
Perry too. That's what he likes.
Katy Perry.
Gage, I gotta tell you something else too.
What?
About I was gonna tell you this earlier, but you said save it for the show. Joe, you're gonna love this too. So last year we went to Nittaitai in Tokyo. We met all the guys on their team there, the university team, and we like hit it off, you know, with them like we mentioned before on the show. But so one of them was going live on his Insta, and I was like, I gotta check this out. I don't know what he's saying, but what are they doing, right? And it's just him, and he's just got his camera pointed right outside, and they just said aloha, and then put a shaka and the thing, and he goes, oh, Maxu, like that. I was like, what's up, guys? I got so excited, and he goes, and Gage, like that. Gage.
Yeah,
like,
in the rooms.
Yeah, and you hear the other guy goes, Gage, like that. It's a word he's never heard. And the other guy goes, libero, like that. And he goes, oh, Gage. It was awesome. It was
Dude,
so
those
awesome.
are the happiest people on planet Earth, those
They
guys.
are.
They're
They're
such good people.
We're
We're going to have Kathryn Plummer on later on the show. Got a good show on for you guys. But before that, we're going to go into our first segment. I'm not going to announce it yet. Not going to announce it. There have been a lot of news about this latest letter by the NCAA and the Save Our Sports. I'm sure you guys all heard about it. John Sparrow created an account, kind of blew up. And basically what's happening now is the NCAA put a letter. I think who put a letter? I think it was the NCAA put it.
NCAA put a letter. There's
the Mountain West
rumors right now that the NCAA has considered the reducing the amount of sports that that they require to 12 to be a Division I institute. I think we're gonna get into that once we bring on a special guest here in just a little bit.
Exactly. So we're gonna bring on a specialist in this field. For those of you wondering, it is our mother, Christine Worsley. So this is her line of expertise. A lot of you guys want her on the show, which is a little weird, okay? But we'll bring her on for you guys.
Why don't you bring your mom on the show?
Probably a little creepy out there.
I want to slap you if you ask me that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Christine Worsley. Joining us from our house in our first segment of Chalk Talk.
Chalk Talk.
Yeah,
My mom, Christine Worsley.
Nice.
My mom, Christine Worsley, Dean of Kinesiology, Athletic Director at Diablo Valley College. Mom, how are we doing?
We're good. How are you, gentlemen?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on the show today, Mom. So we're going to go into our first Chalk Talk here and talk about why there are smaller amounts of men's volleyball teams than there are women's volleyball teams in the nation.
No, I think, we have to get into, first of all, right now with the whole, we went into this before that the Save Our Sports whole thing, but we need to get into exactly why there is an issue and what we have to talk about first is the Title IX discrepancy. And we're gonna put this to you, Mother. What exactly, when Title IX came into effect in 1972,
Yep.
what exactly was the original purpose of that bylaw?
Well, Title IX, obviously, it affected, basically it had to do with equity within the educational system, and schools that are now federally funded or have federal funding had to meet certain requirements in terms of equity across the board for men and for women in terms of educational opportunity. It wasn't necessarily geared toward athletics, but it had to do with educational opportunity between men and women. But where it really gained its notoriety and impact really happened within athletics. And it has since expanded. It's broad-based. I mean, it encompasses so many more things now beyond educational opportunity and athletics. But that's really where it started. That was the grassroots movement.
So to kind of break it down, to kind of get to the question here. So in order to be a D1 team, you have to have at least D1 program. You have to have at least 16 D1 programs in order to be kind of reach that level, right?
So that's an NCAA rule.
Yeah.
So Title IX is again governed. It's a federal statute. And so all schools receiving federal aid, meaning schools that receive federal financial aid, which basically is every single institution in the United States, they have to comply with Title IX rules. And that means that so every year they actually have to do a report. They have to claim how they're meeting Title IX requirements. And then they have to submit data that is required by the federal government on an annual basis to meet the burden of proof. So, and that goes for every school, whether it's Division I, NCAA, NAIA, community college, private, public, all of these institutions that receive federal funding have to do that. And if they are not compliant with Title IX guidelines, then they could lose their federal funding, which means they lose their financial aid for students. So it's really imperative for them to maintain that balance.
And I think the first thing before when I came in to the University of Hawaii, I wasn't exactly sure on this, but a lot of people get this mixed up. Is Title IX, when they refer to actual funding in NCAA programs, it's not referring to, or it's not based on, all right, they have one program here that has to be matched, like one women's program. It has to do with percentage of scholarships. And could you go into a little bit of that?
Title IX is not about equality, it's about equity. So when you're looking at an experience of a student athlete, whether they're in a men's program or a women's program, the experience of that student athlete has to be identical. So if you have a football player, you know that you're going to be spending more money on them just based on the equipment alone. Versus a swimmer, right? You're going to be spending more money, but is their experience similar? Is the level of coaching similar? Is their locker rooms, team rooms, are they getting, adequate academic support? Are they getting, is their travel schedule meet minimum protocols of their conference? Those types of things, right? But Title IX, each institution has to basically claim how they want to be Title IX compliant, and there's 3 ways to do that. The first way is straight ratio. And it has to do with your institutional enrollment numbers. So if your college most institutions have more females than they have males. So it's really hard for them to be what's called prong 1 compliant, which means you look at your institutional enrollment numbers and you say, okay, we're going to have X number of men's teams and X number of women's teams it's going to be equal to the number of enrollment we have at our college. Most colleges cannot meet that. Prong 2 is more along the lines of, it gives you a chance to balance. If you're prong 2, you're in a transition phase within your institution. So for example, if you're an all women's college and all of a sudden you go co-ed and you want to add men's sports, you have a length of time that they give you, so many years, to be able to meet the Title IX standards. So you're prong 2 compliant. Prong 3 is the most prevalent means of being Title IX compliant. And that has to do with they call an interest-based survey. And so most college students, when they apply to school, they have to, when you're applying in your application, there's a survey that every single student has to fill out. If you could be an athlete, what sport would you like? And so they have to keep that data, and that's part of the data that gets submitted to the federal government at the end of the year with their Title IX requirements. So for Division I, in terms of number of scholarships that are issued, all of that is based, yes, on your Title IX ratios and numbers. And in regard to schools that have larger male scholarship offerings, they have to balance that with more women's offerings.
Okay.
So
and so the way that ties in, I think we've gotten a lot of questions from people on our Instagram here, how this ties into why the reasoning behind why there's so many women's programs and opportunities for women's volleyball players to move on to the collegiate level versus the limited amount of men's programs. I think first of all, it has to do with the amount of funding and the amount of interest from spectators, obviously, and what the amount of money that they're making, because most programs outside of BYU and the University of Hawaii are going to be very limited in income. They're like men's volleyball is not income.
generating.
Yeah, they're not income generating at all. And so on the women's side, you see that specifically more in the Power 5 conferences. But I think the Title IX thing also plays into that. They're not willing to bring in a men's volleyball program that's not going to generate money for them and then take away men's scholarships from programs that could generate money at their schools.
I have a question. Mom.
Sure.
So for a little background for our listeners here, men's volleyball gets 4.5 scholarships to kind of pass around. Women's volleyball gets 12. Football gets what,
85.
85. Basketball is another 14 or around that number. So I was wondering, okay, since football takes up most of the scholarships for men's, right? How come when you have schools like UCSB or Long Beach, the men's program doesn't get more scholarships since they're not taking up the...
That scholarship limit was set by the NCAA.
Okay.
You would create an inequity within programs if that were the case across the country. And you can't create an inequity within a sport. So everybody's going to get the same.
Because otherwise there'd be a huge disadvantage for schools that do have football, for example, or something like that, like we do. Gotcha. That makes sense.
Okay. Thank you, Mom. Thanks for joining us on the show. For all those who've been wanting on the show, we delivered right here, and she gave us...
She's also a self-proclaimed barber. She's been...
Yeah. She refuses to take the buzzer on me, though, which I wish she would, though. All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Christine Morrissey.
Thank you.
Well, I hope a lot of you guys wondering in the discrepancies in men's and women's programs kind of got an answer there. I learned actually.
Yeah, our mom. So you might be wondering why we brought her on out of all people, but she's worked in a lot of different programs around the country, and she's worked in the NCAA. Now she's in the community college world here in California, but she definitely has her hands in pretty much everything. She has to understand those things, and she's worked in a lot of positions that require her to know exactly what Title IX does. And those are the type of the questions we were getting this week from a lot of people that were listening in. So we hope her input gave gave some answers into what you guys are wondering.
I think I learned more from that than any meeting we've had on. I don't know about you guys.
That's true. That's so true.
I was like, we've had like 5 of them too. It's like, I was just, all right, cool. Mrs. Worsley.
Like 5 minutes too.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to bring Kathryn Plummer on the show, the recipient of literally every single volleyball
award. Possible award you can think of, she's won it.
She's won it.
She won an Oscar even.
Men's Volleyball Player of the Year, she's won it.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kathryn Plummer. Kathryn, thank you so much for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to have such an all-star on the show.
Franchise player.
We were talking about how you were a recipient of literally every single volleyball award in Boston. You probably had to learn of so many awards while you were at Stanford. Like, okay, I'll take it, I guess.
I didn't know that existed, but all right.
Okay.
So a lot of people didn't know that you actually spent your last semester playing professional in Italy for Monza Volleyball, right?
Yes, I did.
So can you talk us through that decision? Were you always intending to do that, or what was driven behind that decision?
Yeah, so kind of like my sophomore year of college, I was like, okay, if I am on track and do what I need to do in school, like I can be done by December. And I was like, why would I mean, I wanted to stay around and like be with my friends and like just kind of experience Stanford without volleyball. I think that'd be like really cool. But at the same time, I was like, okay, I can play sport I really love and like make money while doing it. So like, why wouldn't I take that opportunity? And so like probably like my sophomore year, I was like, okay, I could do this and figure it out. And so at the national championship, like the day before, I like, met with a bunch of agents in Pittsburgh.
Your last championship, right?
Yeah, during my senior year. And then so like I chose one like the day before the national championship, but I didn't tell him for probably about a week. And so I like did my Christmas vacation. I was in New York for like all of Christmas and New Year's, and then I was like, okay, let's make a decision like with what team I'm going with. And so I decided like Italy would be a really good option to start because the league is really good. Like the team I would be on is great. And so I thought it was a good starting ground. So I just started in the middle of January and kind of never looked back. I mean, until the virus hit.
Yeah, you were there in Italy for about like a month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah, so I left like smack dab in the middle of January and for Italy, and then I came back like middle of March. So I was only there for like 2 months tops.
Well, at least you got to experience it. And it's crazy that you graduated early from Stanford. And then did that? That's nuts. You probably had to load up on classes with your season being in the fall and whatnot. That must have been crazy.
Yeah, so like I took one summer school class the whole time I was there. Like Stanford doesn't make us take summer school. But I like in order to graduate like on time, you're supposed to take like 15 units per quarter, and I like never took 15 units. I always took like 19.
Oh my gosh.
One quarter I had to like apply to take over the max amount, so I was in 22 units. It was rough. It was
my
quarter.
I think 12 is like a lot for me. And I don't go to Stanford. I'm like,
but they're on the quarter system, like the trimester system.
oh, that's true. Oh, and that's
Right? Like a
never
trimester.
mind then.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. That's still something.
So on quarters, but like the summer counts as a quarter, so it's pretty much just like 3. So it's fall, winter, spring, unless you're taking summer school. But I only did that once, and I didn't have to be on campus. I like took it online. So it was really chill.
So we kind of touched bases about this before the show. You had one of your teammates as a TA for one of your classes. And then when you confirmed that, I was like, okay, my wheels started turning. I was like, okay, had a TA, graduated early. I'm like, oh, the Stanford coach is getting in the system. That's why they're going to Stanford, man. They got a whole system. If I had a TA, if I had my players for my TA, oh my God, I'd write a paper, 5 minutes, hand that thing in, walk out with it, just swagging out, just smiling, walk out with my degree, I'm out of there. Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, it was nice to have her as a TA, and not to lie, but like it was the class that like I enjoyed the most in Stanford. Like even if she wasn't my TA, and like that was like my best grade.
Oh, wow.
I bet it was. I bet it was.
I would have gotten the same grade if she wasn't. Come on now.
I mean, all right. Now that you graduated, you can kind of get into this. She had to help you out sometimes. There's got to be something like, all right, Cass is going to be like,
Off
okay,
the record.
I mean,
you know?
not with my grade, but
No.
like study.
Okay. All right. No, I'm just teasing. I know they wouldn't do that. You guys are. So as we mentioned, you're a 3-time national champion, 2-time player of the year. Now the generic answer to this would be all the championships are same, but there's got to be one that sticks out and as like the greatest like feeling of accomplishment of all time. Which one out of the 3 was like whoosh, the best?
For sure, the last one, I think.
Yeah.
Like you said, like all of them are super special, but I think the last one primarily because it was like the last time I was good to get to play with my class. It was the last time playing for Stanford, and like the season was pretty rocky for our team for sure,
Yeah.
and specifically, so like being able to come out like after all of that, it was pretty special, I would say.
Was it kind of like I feel obviously there's a lot of excitement in I mean, I would not know, but obviously there's a lot of excitement in that, but I feel like there's probably a sigh of relief afterwards because you have all this pressure, and then once you do, you're like, all right, we did it. I ended on a high note. I did it. We're good to go.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if it was necessarily relief. It was kind of just like ease, because we're like, okay, like now we worked so hard for 4 years, and like after we won, we're like, okay, like let's just like celebrate all these 4 years. And so it was definitely a very fun night after we
One
won.
big celebration.
So,
there.
so I have to ask about this. I'm sure you've been asked a lot about this. So I know that being in a locker room, especially in a collegiate program, that stuff gets said a lot, and there's like stuff that shouldn't be
Locker room
recorded and
talk.
stuff. Or locker room talk.
No.
And after I think it was your junior year, the championship match versus Nebraska, there was a huge scandal that came out, and I'm like, when I first heard about that, like I didn't think much about it because I'm like, that stuff happens in every locker room. Like their stuff gets drawn, and it just happened there that a picture leaked out. What was your guys' first reaction when that first came out? Like, what was the coach's reaction? What was the play? As a team, you're like, dang, like we shouldn't let that get out. You're like, that was the camera's fault, or
Was this the hang the Huskers kind of thing?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like we didn't really know until we got on the bus and someone like opened Twitter to like see what was happening, and we're like, oh shoot. We're like, oh crap. We like called all of us in the back of the bus and we like screamed to our like social media girl. We're like, Reg, what the heck? Like,
Oh, it's your social media person did it.
no, she didn't do it. But she did
Oh.
that, like, because it was the NCAA that put it up, and like
Get
we
it down.
hadn't like closed like the whiteboard because we usually covered what we did. And we didn't, and like they weren't really supposed to be in the locker room at that point. They're supposed to be like this like freeze period. But they were in there and they took it and then posted it like immediately without us getting clearance, and we're like, oh crap.
Jeez.
But like I think that was like our reaction, and the coaches were like very upset with us. Like they got scolded pretty hard.
I can
But
imagine.
we for sure weren't able to do that this year because there was gonna be-
Yeah, for sure.
I heard
Hug the Huskers.
Love the Huskers. Love the Huskers. So
Be
I heard that.
respectful.
I heard that when you guys went to Nebraska, you guys had to do like community service like the next year. Is that true?
Yes, that is true.
Oh my.
Yeah, we
That's
like worked at
brutal.
Like it's a hit. Like into the camera, just like, just like you gotta wear the Nebraska shirts. We love Nebraska.
And then
Take a
you beat
picture.
him. And then you beat him the next. Ooh, that's-
we
It's
kind
gotta
of
be rough.
like little kids how to play volleyball. It wasn't that hard.
Okay. Well, I mean, as long as you're giving back.
That's good though. No, that's important that you guys did show that you guys were sorry that you did it. But no, yeah, for me, like as an athlete and a competitor, stuff like that happened. There's way worse stuff said in locker rooms than that.
I
Like
know.
that's nothing compared to what I've heard in some locker rooms. And so
I kind of want to go back to your senior year. You kind of brushed upon it. So your senior year, I remember when I was talking to fans of volleyball, coaches, players, whatnot, they were like, okay, Stanford's going undefeated for sure. No one's going to beat them. And then plus with the addition, you guys got a middle from UCLA, a very skilled middle, and returning
Gates?
everyone. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. And returning those players, returning the main core as well. I mean, you guys probably – do you think that as Bain said, I love quoting this, that victory kind of had defeated you at the beginning of the season? You think you guys kind of got a little confident at the beginning of the season because all of a sudden, all right, I think you guys lost a couple games and then you go down and get hurt, and it's kind of like, well, like kind of a wake-up call.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when we lost the games during preseason, like we just like know that we didn't play well, and then like we lost the second game of the Pac-12 against Washington, and that was like my last game playing pretty much for like half the Pac-12, the first half. But like it was definitely a wake-up call a little bit because like we had won the year prior, and not saying like we got complacent or anything, but like the year prior we kind of like breezed through the whole Pac-12. We didn't lose a game. It was like, I don't know how many years it's been since that happened, but like it was pretty smooth
That's a
sailing.
tough conference to do.
And so like this last season, it was definitely rocky, but I think like because we lost, like we had more experience in those tough matches that helped us for sure in the tournament.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that by the end of the season, you guys kind of had it down. You guys for sure were just like smooth sailing. You were kind of under two coaches under your 4 years at Stanford. I heard that in the beginning. I heard that this is a rumor that I heard that he would set the basically he'd be like,
You're
you're the
John
starting-
Dunning.
John Dunning. The first be like, you guys are the starting seven, because I know that I don't know if this is true. You can kind of tell me if I'm wrong or right here, because I know that again, two different kind of styles of coaching, and I know that coaching girls can be it's kind of different from coaching guys, right? So I heard that in order to kind of deal with that, he would say, all right, you guys are starting for the whole year. And then that's how it was. And there's like no arguing. Is that true or no?
I mean, I think that's kind of how it was for both coaches, honestly. But I think that our team and our group kind of realized, like, okay, like there's going to be people that are going to start pretty much every game, and then people that like come in and like make a difference. But people that aren't going to start, like, this is like you're trying to prove yourself, and if you like want a spot, make us better, and like try to get on the other side. So like there was like a very like healthy competition every single practice.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. I know that doesn't necessarily happen in a lot of female programs, just because like I don't know why. That's not ever been my mentality, but I think that's some people's. But yeah, I think that we always just had a competition with each other, and it was definitely like healthy. Like it wasn't like ever like brutal or mean, but like we always just wanted to make each other better. And if you wanted to be on the starting side, like you had to prove it.
Right. And I think when you're on a high level team and there's like, okay, there's no like discrepancies and where it's like these guys are definitely the starting seven, like clear cut. That's how it is. It helps with team dynamics as well, because like there's not a bickering. They're not like, oh, I should be starting in front of that guy, because like it's very obvious you should not be starting in front of that person. And I think that just helps people get along. It humbles a lot of people that need to be humble, and I think it all works. You see, like when you go down like good teams and mediocre teams, that's where like you get a lot of still really good players, but now they're like bickering behind each other's back.
Yeah, but there's a lot of switching between positions and stuff.
Right, right. Sure. Like the people that didn't start, they like took it upon themselves and they called themselves the machine team, because like they sometimes like rocked us in practice. We're like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
Like we're like, we shouldn't like be losing, but like they made it really tough, and I think that's why our team was so special, because we like had so much depth and we always made each other better.
Max, I think you can kind of touch upon this. He was part of what we called, there was the A side, which was the starters, then the A plus side, which was the second. Max, you can touch upon that.
Yeah, like around like the second half of this previous season, like right when we got back in January, we started using this word that we floated around last year, because we were like, we hate being called the B side, man. We're not a B side. We're the A plus side.
Max, my favorite thing that he said, they're like, they don't want us to win.
Yeah, we kept saying
very true.
They're like, yeah, well, we're playing against them. Of course, they don't want you to win.
And then once like let's say one guy is like playing really well, like Max, one of the other side, the B squad, be like, wow, Trey.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay, you don't care about the A plus side. It's kind of funny.
So we're gonna, before we wrap everything up here with you, Kathryn, we had a bunch of responses here on our Instagram with questions. We're just gonna run you through here, kind of rapid fire. Some volleyball related, some just I guess lifestyle related. But first, kind of this is almost 4 or 5 years ago now. What other schools were you considering before you made your decision to commit to Stanford?
I was heavily considering Washington, Penn State, Minnesota, UCLA, USC, like a lot of like Pac-12, Big Ten.
Any school that's won a national championship.
The good ones.
What is your best memory off the court with your team? That you can keep.
Yeah.
She is graduated now, so
I know.
Just tell us say what you think.
She's got to protect her teammates still.
That's true. Graduated teammates.
I think one of them is we went to like one of our men's basketball games when they were playing North Carolina at home, and we like all dressed, like only our team, we all dressed in pajamas, and we had a sign that said "Don't sleep on us," and it was super fun. Like we got on ESPN, it was very fun. And then after we just like went in the locker room and had like a dance party and a little sleepover stuff. Yeah.
We're not even allowed to do that.
Yeah. Dang. All right. And if you were to pick, I don't know, your senior year, I guess you might know a couple men's volleyball collegiate players, but the question is, if you were to pick any men's collegiate player from the past couple of years, who would you pick to be your co-ed mixed doubles partner with on the beach?
We're available. I'm kidding.
Anybody, who's played collegiate volleyball in the past couple of years, I guess, is the question.
I don't
Stein,
necessarily know
Stein
that
has
many
entered the chat.
people, like, like based on their personalities, just because like I don't know that many people outside.
Yeah.
Of Stanford. But playing wise, I would probably say TJ.
Right on.
Smart
That's
choice,
not a
smart
bad
choice.
choice. He probably will play pretty well for you.
um,
And so it's kind of the last volleyball question, then we'll get in some fun questions. But what are your do you have like a strict plan for your future in volleyball of what you want to do? And after volleyball, do you have any plans past that?
Yeah. So I mean, I think my plan right now is to play indoor until maybe 2024, 2025, and then maybe transition to beach. There's not like a strict plan, but I definitely like want to make a switch sometime in the near-ish future.
Right on. And it's better on the knees. Sand is so much better on the knees and the
So
body.
much better on the knees and the hips. So much.
Is it?
So do you have any musical talents at all? Special musical talents?
Oh no.
Dancing?
Neither do Gage or I. That was the
well, what
question.
kind of
we had.
music do you listen to then? Tell us
Yeah,
what
what-
you're into.
what-
What are you listening to?
I know country.
Max
Um,
Pedal tune.
Zach Brown band for
I
sure.
really should. No.
I know Zach Brown for sure.
I'm getting all blushed.
Bringing back the
I
memories.
really like country.
Yeah.
I really like. Let's see. Let's look at my Spotify. I really like. Honestly, this is kind of bad, but like all the TikTok songs.
I know. They're all super catchy. That was good. That's another question. Do you have a TikTok?
I do have a TikTok.
Well, you do? Okay.
It's very addicting, and I spend way too much time on it.
So everybody give her a follow. I got one recently too. I don't post too much, but we have. Gage is gonna be filming a funny video. Watching
Basically,
people
he
is
makes me.
hilarious on that.
So fun.
But what music? What are your top artists or top listen music or songs?
Let's see. I would say I really like Chase Rice. Let's see. I don't know.
Chase Rice.
He's a
Big country.
I like Eminem. So that's like a mix.
Not
one.
country.
Classic.
That's a big jump from Chase Rice to
Yeah.
Eminem.
Jump.
Wait for the collab soon.
Let's see. I don't really know.
Are you 80s rock?
Not really into 80s rock.
Just you and me,
Earth,
Joe.
Wind and Fire is always good. A little bit.
Earth, Wind, and
Okay.
That is
nice.
such a broad spectrum of music.
I'm a world of music.
That's awesome.
You know?
I think all three of us are kind of similar. We like all different types of music.
Yeah.
Big Zach Brown fan like you.
Similar but different.
Last question here. In Italy, was there anything you learned how to cook there that you brought back to the
no,
U.S.?
Because I like didn't really live in an apartment. I lived in like a hotel that had a small kitchen and like a living room. So like my appliances weren't great, and so
Okay.
pretty much all I ate was like
Order
rice
pizza.
and chicken that I could buy at the store. Like that was like
Okay.
already prepackaged. It was a rough go.
Yeah, that's the biggest change. Me in Germany too. It's like figuring out what to buy. Like there's some stuff I would go to the store. I'm like, what is this? I don't even know what this is.
One time I tried to like make pasta in my room, and it literally took 40 minutes to boil water because the electricity is so different.
Oh,
Is it true?
How's
that-
your Italian?
It's rough.
That's
It's really rough.
it's tough to learn a foreign language, especially just being kind of like thrown into it.
I asked my teammates. I asked Rado. I was like, Rado, what are Italians like? Because like they know the European like generic things. So I was like, what's that like a generic Italian? He was like, they talk with their hands.
That's all
True?
the hands.
Well, Kathryn, thank you so much for being on the show. I hope you stay safe. I hope the family stays safe. Keep making the TikToks. Give her a follow.
Yeah, give Kathryn a follow on TikTok.
Later.
She's gonna be dropping her first dance soon. First TikTok dance. Broken on here.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kathryn Plummer.
Thank you.
Well, that was juicy. Real juicy. Get that go to my
really weird word to choose, but yeah.
I mean, like we said, she's as an athlete, she's won literally every single award. Like, we're not joking. Like, you look at any award that she could have possibly won, she won it in her time at Stanford. And so she's gonna have a great career. She's a really good beach player. So when she goes, like she was talking about transferring
Win
to
every
ADP,
beach thing.
she's gonna win everything. Yeah.
Number one.
It was awesome having her. You know, for me, I brought this up when she was on, but the thing about the board that they like after the national championship, they win the national championship, and the first thing you see like all over Twitter and stuff is people talking about this board of them drawing some sketch. It's like, all right, I know at Hawaii, like the same thing, like Pete, you draw on the board stuff to kind of get the boys fired up, and it's really meant to be in the team, kept within the team. And so the fact that it got leaked out, I don't know exactly who did that, but for that standpoint, I think the media needs to understand the boundaries between, okay, this is the team's trying to get themselves prepared for the biggest match, one of the biggest matches of their lives. So
When we were at CSUN, I'm always talking about CSUN. We were at CSUN my freshman year.
we have really mixed memories about playing CSUN.
No. I'll get into that. I'll get into the story that he's talking about another time about my greatest start of all time. But no, we would go and we played them back-to-back nights, and then always have a nice little message for us on their board in the guest locker room.
No, you know what we found out who did that?
Who?
Brandon Rattray.
Oh my God!
We would walk in. He was always the first one, and then he'd leave. And we're always like, they would write kind of like trash talking to us. Like I don't remember what they wrote, but we'd be like, these guys wrote this on our board. And Brandon, I didn't realize till the next week, but he was the one who wrote those on the board. And he was like,
man, he is
like, fired us up.
psychological.
He's like, these guys are yelling, writing this about us. Like, we gotta kick their ass.
I'm like, oh man, that did not work. But we hope you guys enjoyed the show today. We're gonna have Charlie Wade on Thursday. We're gonna talk about some very, very juicy, interesting subjects. So make sure you guys tune into that.
Before we tune off, though, why don't you tell us again about the Thursday segment and what we want from them for the Thursday segment of Totally Exposed?
Oh, yeah, Gage. Why don't you tell him that?
I'm sorry. My bad. I slipped on that. So I made a post on my personal account talking about the new segment, Totally Exposed. If you watched our last Thursday, you saw it. Basically, we go through volleyball-related videos. We look through them. We're going to give you guys a little info on our input about it and maybe some funny comments along the way. So if you have any funny videos, volleyball-related, please send it to either one of our personal accounts, the out-of-system account. It doesn't matter. So
We'd love to see
If you
it.
want to get our reaction, we'd
Exactly.
love to post some funny videos on here.
Love to dissect it.
Exactly. So it'll be before Thursday. So make sure you do that around Wednesday, and it'll be good to go. All right. Thanks, guys. This has been Out of System.